the delivery is as loud and aggressive as possible, yet it tends to be sort of mundane, sort of things that you might read in the paper or like, or in a census or something, So,
your socioeconomic status is exceptional!
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro, and with me is Matt Hansen. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
And
you're a terrible podcaster.
Sorry, what?
You see what I did right there? I'm heckling you.
Oh, you're heckling me. Oh, you're really getting into the theme of the episode. Joining us to talk heckling, to talk cyclocross is Jake Williams. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt, and I'll be a little kinder to start off, and it's great to be here, so looking forward to it.
You suck too.
Ouch.
Okay, wow, we're really leaning into this. Jake, listeners may remember Jake from way back. I think he was last on the podcast in 2019, 18?
Yeah, that was
something
it.
Like that.
Talking about Pan Ams.
There you go. Also, readers of the magazine will know Jake's features. He's done many great features, but today he is talking cross and heckling with Matt and I. I want to go really in-depth on this subject because, well, it's part of the discipline. So I spoke with some pros, I spoke with some people with deep knowledge of cross, and some people with actually just a little bit of knowledge of cross and heckling. And I also sought out the man who has unleashed the harshest heckles on me. And I wanted to have a chat with that guy.
I'm right here.
Not you. Someone else.
Not me either?
No, it's neither of you.
Wow. Okay.
Well, this sucks.
But first, let's set the scene. This past weekend was a little old cyclocross race right near Canadian Cycling Magazine headquarters. It was an effort by local Toronto cross enthusiasts to bring cyclocross to the big smoke. Jake was part of that group. Jake, nicely done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was the first time that race has been held in that park since 2017. And huge success. Over 400 racers. Everyone had a blast, I think. What do you think?
I had a blast. I didn't race, but it definitely made me want to race again.
You didn't race because you knew you could heckle, because I didn't race because at the office the couple days before, all you guys said if I raced, you'd heckle me. So I was like, no, thanks. Really?
That scared you away from the course?
It did. Sorry, buddy.
The power of the heckle can't be that strong. Come on, it can't keep you from racing. But that race brought a lot of folks out, like you said, Jake, and it also brought Isabella Holmgren and Ian Ackert, Sidney McGill, Noah Ramsey, so some top crossers. I think, was Tyler Clark around? He didn't race, but I heard he was...
Tyler Clark, he was around, yeah. He was supporting his partner, Erica. But it sounded like he was taking a little bit of time off, getting recharged, targeting nationals next month. So that was my intel that I got.
And, of course, there was all sorts of other abilities and levels out and about on the day, and it was great. I came armed with a microphone to talk heckling. It's a great feature of cross because, folks are going at often a very slow clip, and their friends, their frenemies, their downright enemies can unleash witticisms on them. And we've all been hit with heckles in the past. Matt, do any stick with you, really?
I mean, I heckle you every day at the office, but that doesn't count, does it?
I was thinking about that. You're not really heckling me. You troll me quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think that's called bullying, guys. I think there is a term for that.
No, I'm bullying him for sure.
Oh, he's terrible. Oh, he's awful. He's a real nag.
Oh, okay.
There's nagging, there's razzing. So these are all in the same sphere of teasing. And really, it's a fine art, actually, as we will find out throughout the podcast with the discussions with various people.
And we've seen it in Europe too become a little too extreme sometimes, like when Van der Poel had what was apparently beer, might not have been beer, thrown at him by the Belgians. But
yeah, that's not heckling. That's
abuse.
That's abuse.
Yeah.
But it is a fine art, the heckle. It's meant to sting a bit for sure. Usually it's done best by people who know you a little bit, and they can find something about you that they bring out, and it just helps them twist the knife a little deeper. All right, gentlemen, without further ado, let's introduce the first interview that I did. Well, it's not the first interview I did, but this is the first interview we're going to hear. It is Isabella Holmgren, who is back racing cross. This wasn't her first cross race of the whole season. She was doing some hometown races near Orillia, Ontario. She was at Hardwood Ski and Bike. That is basically the backyard of the Holmgrens. They raced there for years. Her older brother Gunnar, her sister Ava. Actually, Jake, I should mention that of your many features that you've done for Canadian Cycling Magazine, one that you did, I think it was in 2021, was on the Holmgren family.
Yeah, and that was a great time chatting with all of them. Clearly, they're a very tight-knit family, very respectful of each other. So when you hear some of these clips going forward and how they might heckle each other, might be a little surprising because you'd think it was all rosy and they're all best friends, but they do truly lean into the discipline. And I think, like you said earlier, it is part of the discipline.
Isabella was wearing her Elite Pan Am Champions jersey. It's actually head spinning how many jerseys she's won, and sometimes I have to go back to my notes because she won Elite Pan Ams last year, under 23 national champion, and then she is going to defend Elite Pan Ams very soon. And I don't even think she's totally sure if she's going to race under 23 or Elite at nationals.
Good problems to have, I think.
That's right. Because if you recall last year, the Holmgren sisters carved it up. Ava took Elite.
What should I win? Would you want this one or should I take this one? What do you want? You know, it's like, oh, I guess you can have it this year.
I don't know. Someone named Rochette might have something to say about that, but...
Oh, that's true. We forgot about her. Yeah, she's going to be there this year.
Forgot about her. Yikes. We didn't forget. And Sidney McGill will be there. So, yeah. And Sidney, we have a chat with her coming up. Let us hear from Isabella Holmgren and what's up ahead in her season, who's been heckling her recently, and why her race this past weekend didn't go so well. Isabella Holmgren, you are back racing cyclocross. Now, I understand you have been in the U.S. attending races, but not racing them. Is that true?
Yeah, I was just in my off season, so I decided to go down to the States with some family and friends and just help at the races and be around everyone because I love it and I wanted to be there. Yeah.
And how are you feeling post Mont Saint Anne? You had a crash there. How has the recovery been?
Yeah, the recovery's been good. Thankfully, no big injuries, so I just took my off season right away, and yeah, it's been good. Nice to have a bit of a break.
Now, one thing I'm quizzing everybody about or asking people about are heckles. Now, have you been heckled recently?
Yeah, I did the Hardwood Wednesday night cross race, and my sister and brother and my friends came out to just watch, and yeah, some really good heckles there.
I can imagine family heckles like no other because they just know you too well.
Yeah, my sister was cheering and she said, I can tell you're on your off season, so that one hurt a little bit.
Nicely done. And so what brings you to Christie Pits in Toronto to start your cross season?
Yeah, so I'm going to race Pan Ams next weekend, and I sort of just wanted to do a local race and yeah, just be around the cross scene. And I grew up racing O-Cup, so it's nice to always come back and see the younger people racing and also the people I used to race against. So
you had a younger rider chasing you in the midst of the race there. What was that like?
Yeah, Ellie Moore, she's super strong. Yeah, I've ridden with her a few times, so it's nice to see that there's some girls doing cross, because I think when I was younger there weren't a ton of girls my age racing, so it's nice to see.
We're talking mid-race. This is still the middle of the elite women's race. Things didn't go so great for you.
Yeah, I just went into a tree a little bit and hit my shoulder and possibly my head, so I thought it would be a good idea to call it and not make it worse, especially coming off of a hurt shoulder. So. Oh
no, well I hope yes, it wasn't too serious and that Pan Am's is next, so I hope that goes well.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And then is it nationals after that?
Yeah, nationals are 2 weekends after, I believe. Yeah.
And any plans to race in Europe?
Yeah, I think maybe sometime during the Christmas cross period, but nothing before then.
Thanks very much, Bella.
Thank you.
And that was Isabella Holmgren. So she did, unfortunately, shoulder check a tree. That was, I think, around the third lap. The race started really fast, as you can imagine. Sidney McGill was out ahead, and then Isabella passed her. But then there was that tree that she shoulder checked, unfortunately. That tree actually also caught Noah Ramsey's shoulder in the elite men's race. So
I think it's the other way around. I think Noah Ramsey caught a tree. Trees don't move, as far as I understand.
thank you for that.
Sorry, Noah.
I want to now turn to another elite rider. That is Sidney McGill, who was in the early laps going head-to-head with Isabella Holmgren. Sidney McGill has had a pretty good season. She was third overall in the Trek USCX Cup. This is for the second year in a row. Last year and the year before, she targeted lots of World Cup races. She does pretty well at Val de Soleil, 5th in 2022 and 9th in 2023, or at least those seasons. However, that Italian race won't be back this year. She is the 2019 and 2016 U23 Canadian champ. She missed out on nationals last year, but we're going to find out what the Cervelo Orange Living rider is up to this year and what squirrels have to do with it, or at least squirrel. Sidney McGill, you're here in Toronto. Tell us what brings you here.
I came out to train in Aurelia with my coach, with Robert, for a week leading up to Pan Am's. And while I was here, I heard that there was a O Cup going on and sounded like fun to come and check it out. So made the trip down.
Now, you raced in Ontario before. You did nationals in Peterborough a few years ago, but have you raced our humble O Cups before?
I don't believe so. Yeah, I think this is my first O Cup, especially on the cross bike, but it's been tons of fun.
Right on. Now, you were recently in the U.S., third overall in the Trek series. How was that part of your season?
It was good. Off to a pretty good start for the cross season. It was a lot of really hot races, which are not exactly my forte, but, you know, I'm building up a tolerance maybe, hopefully, one day. But yeah, it was really fun to start off in the States and had some good results out there. Yeah.
Now, I've been asking people about heckling and being heckled. I understand there's a heckle or a connection to squirrel with you. Can you unpack that?
Yes. So Squirrel was my nickname back home at local Alberta racing. Actually, my local coach, when I first started riding, came up with it. And so that kind of followed me for a long time, is people calling me Squirrel out at the races. Yeah. So anything related to squirrel, if there's squirrels on course, someone will call out that I need to go chase, my friend Squirrel out there. But yeah, squirrel.
Nice. Well, it's good. It's good that it had legs and, longevity and maybe followed you around, but you never embraced it. You don't have any squirrel logos on you, do you?
I don't have any squirrel logos on me. I did dress up as a squirrel for one of the cross races at one point. And actually, at one of the U.S. races I did quite a few years ago, the commentator in, I want to say it was Indy, started calling me Squirrel. So somehow it made its way to the States, which was a shock. But I don't hear it as much out of Alberta these days.
And what's ahead for you this year? Last year you went to Europe. It seems one of your better World Cup races is Val di Sole in Italy. Will you be going back there?
Unfortunately, that's not a World Cup this year. They do have another Italy World Cup that's a new venue, but it's going to be much warmer. It's not a snow venue, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll head back over to Europe after Nationals. We'll see. I don't think there's going to be too much snow for me out there, but I would love it if there was.
And are you going to do Pan Am's?
Yes.
And then Worlds, is that on your radar?
Yeah, Worlds is definitely a goal in France this year, new venue, so that'll be really cool. Hopefully I can get there.
Right on, Sydney. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that was my post-race chat with Sidney McGill. I now want to change gears, if you will, and we're going to go from pros to a non-pro. I was by the side of the course watching the racers go by. This was during your race, Jake. That was amazing, though, how you were handed a microphone mid-race.
I was, yeah. I managed to get a few lines in within a few corners. I did pass the start-finish, and I think I said something like, what do you think about this to one of the commissaires? I don't know if they actually noticed that I had it in my hand, but I did pass it back to my co-MC, Suzanne, at one point. Figured for safety reasons, probably not great that I'm riding around with a microphone.
I like it. It's kind of like in baseball, in the All-Star game when they give the right fielder a mic and they're like all mic'd up and they catch a ball. I think this is great.
For next year's race, we're thinking about maybe having a few labs on, and I'll just race the whole thing with a mic. Right? I mean, the heavy breathing, we could edit that out.
I was going to say there's going to be a lot of huffing and puffing, and then maybe you're not that much of a cusser, so maybe it's
I mean, on the podcast, no.
On the podcast. During the race, maybe.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to, yes, by the side of the course. I was by the tape, and it was right at the bottom of, let's call it Heckle Hill. And I started chatting with a lovely woman next to me. And she was looking for her son who was in the race. I'm like, oh, who's your son? It turns out it's the race organizer's mom, Connor Gregory. It was Connor's mom. And she was looking out for her boy. And oddly enough, the conversation turned to heckling. And the heckle she delivered to her son. And the story I thought was great. And so I got her on the mic a little after that. And all I will say before we hear from Colleen Biles is moms can be harsh, man. Can you please tell me your name?
Colleen Biles. My son is racing Connor Gregory.
Not only is Connor Gregory racing, he's also the organizer of this event, this cyclocross race in Christie Pitts. But the reason I wanted to talk to you is for not exactly racing information, but heckling information. Now, tell me about the first race you saw your son do. This was what, 10 years ago?
About 10 years ago, I flew in from California and I met him, got off the plane, got a rental car, went to this race north of Toronto, and hadn't seen him in a couple of years at that point. And I didn't know a lot about heckling, but my daughter said, oh, you can heckle. And I saw him coming, and I got really excited. And as he came close by, I said, you suck, Connor. And he thought, is that my mother? It was funny, actually. And everybody was looking at me, and I realized those weren't appropriate words, but I said it with love.
You said to your son, with love, you suck. And what did he say afterwards? What was his reaction?
I think it slowed him down a little bit as he was perplexed, shocked maybe. And he thought, was that my mother's voice? We laughed about it later, and my daughter standing beside me said, Mom, you can't say that. But I did.
So have you since refined your heckles, or have you retired from heckles?
Well, this is now the second race, so I won't be saying that anymore. And I scream at the top of my lungs, go, Connor, but no more, you suck, Connor.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. That's hilarious. And why don't we catch the end of the race? So that is probably the harshest heckle I heard about this past weekend. A mother telling her son that he sucked. But, with love. So that covers everything. Now back to the pros. In the race you were in, Jake, and that you saw from firsthand, a gentleman who maybe lapped you once?
Maybe twice.
Maybe twice? Who's counting?
Exactly. Honestly, I'm used to it.
Yeah, I remember I would get lapped by Andrew Lesperance in some cross races, and it was like, hey, Lespe, have a good one.
Yeah, right. And they're usually quite polite, which is almost like disappointing. Like you almost want them to call you a piece of something when they come by. Like, at least I do. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit self-deprecating, but like, they're just like, yeah, have a great race. And I'm like, have a great race. Have a great race. Like,
I'm sure under the breath afterwards, after they pass you, they're like, loser.
yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. Yeah. They're on Snapchat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they probably don't notice us. They probably pay as much attention to us as they do the stakes by the side of the course. It's just something to pass.
It's a good point.
Anyway, Ian Ackert, I spoke with him before the race and after. So we're going to hear both of those interviews coming up. He's been doing all right in the U.S. He was second at the King's CX in Cincinnati on the second day of racing there. And he was second at Major Taylor in Indianapolis on the second day of that race. He is the under-23 Pan Am champ, the under-23 national champ. He was wearing his Pan Am jersey. And we'll find out about the theme of the types of heckles he gets. And I also asked him if cyclocross is the most fun of the cycling disciplines. Let's hear what Ian Ackert has to say. Ian Ackert, we are here at Christie Pitts in Toronto, and you're going to race a little later. But before we talk racing, let's talk heckling, which is a cyclocross feature. What are some of the heckles you've been receiving lately?
Well, lately I've got a bunch about my hair. 2 weeks ago, I decided to bleach my head. Myself and Gunnar Holmgren, we were just bored one day, and I was told that I couldn't shave my head, so the next best thing was to bleach it. Yeah, we did that, and we were at a few races, and people were throwing names around like Prince Charming, or Barbie, Ken, Princess, all the blonde hair names. So yeah, those are pretty good.
And I think it was at Major Taylor. You weren't feeling great on day one. And I'm going to categorize this almost as a self-heckle. You went through the pits and said, I feel unwell, which was maybe an understatement.
Yeah, so the first day of that race, it was my first cross race of the year. So I kind of just wanted to test the legs a bit. And I was feeling good, but it was very hot outside. And my own mistake, I forgot a water bottle that day. So about 2 laps to go, I had a 20 to 30 second gap, and I self-imploded. Complete heat stroke. I was not very well. So going through the pit to let my pit crew know, I said, I'm feeling very unwell, and just kept pushing to the finish. I knew I was able to stay in points, but yeah, it was a little bit unwell of a day.
Are there more laughs in cyclocross than in other disciplines?
I think there's a bit more. I think, especially in North America, it's not like you don't have the whole international field there. It's definitely still super serious, but there's a little more fun to be had, I think. Yeah.
Now, you did a very full mountain bike season. What do you need to work on, or how is the switch going from mountain to cross?
It's really a little bit of the same right now. After nationals, I'll start doing more cyclocross specific training for my small Christmas cross block. But right now it's just kind of training every day and just enjoying riding the bike. A lot of people are taking an off season, so I'm taking like still a structured training block, but not as much as what I would normally do in previous years.
So you mentioned Christmas cross, so you're going to go back to Europe.
Yeah.
And I think nationals and Pan Ams are in the works for you?
Yeah. So next Thursday I'll fly out to Missoula, try to defend my U23 Pan Am title, and then 2 weeks after that we'll have nationals in Quebec, and I'll try to defend my national title there. So. Yeah.
And you are wearing your Pan Am jersey right now, and you were just saying before we got on the mic that it's not very often that you get to wear it.
No, there's not a real opportunity to wear it in North America. We only have basically nationals for me to wear it, and once I get over to Europe, then I can wear it at all the U23 World Cups. And there's a few C1s that are U23, but other than that, not many times in the year where I can pull it out, so it's pretty cool.
Returning to heckles, is there anyone you plan to heckle today?
I think I'm going to be throwing some heckles to Bella and Sidney out on course before my race, and then I think I'll have some fun with it in the race and definitely throw some heckles, follow some lines, make sure they know that they're riding some interesting lines.
And was anyone sassing you?
There's a few people. I definitely threw some heckles back. Yeah, it was pretty fun. There's some good heckles out there.
Do you remember any?
Someone told me I would get a speeding ticket in this park, but I told them that it wasn't High Park, so I was okay.
Wow, that's a whole bunch of banter going on.
Exactly.
Well, congratulations on the win and good luck with the other races this year.
Thank you.
It's really funny because, I mean, you could have gone a bit harder. God, you're right here, man. We love you, Barbie. It's so good.
And that was Ian Ackert. And at the end of that last clip, you could hear some heckling. You heard, I think that was Bella Holmgren and Sidney McGill and friends calling Ian Barbie. The theme there is his dyed hair, his bleached blonde hair. The genius of that move from a heckling perspective is he's controlling the heckling. People are just going for the low-hanging fruit of like teasing him about his hair. It's like, whatever, he's got blonde hair. I mean, it's easy pickings, but those heckles are just not going to sting. They're just going to roll off of him.
Yeah, that's smart, actually.
Over the course of the race, I ran into David Coughlin. Now, he should be better known amongst cyclocross circles here in Canada. He designed the courses in Winnipeg when Nationals was held there in 2014 and 2015. Fantastic courses, fantastic events. And it kind of just dawned on me, did the math recently, also saw it on Instagram, that it was 10 years ago since Winnipeg held the first of those two editions of Cyclocross Nationals. And they were fantastic races. Some people in Winnipeg are saying they were the best cyclocross races in Canada ever. That's quite spicy, but they're definitely up there in, I would say, the top 5. I can't argue there.
I think so. And Matt, I think that was also coincides with the last time that Dave actually trimmed his beard. If I'm being honest, because he's looking great. He's looking fantastic these days.
He does have that Yukon Cornelius vibe. It's awesome. There's no missing him out on the course.
Oh no.
And he still brought it. He's raced in Europe and many years ago, and he is just I say this to him in the interview. His knowledge of cross is encyclopedic. It's vast, and we get into lots of insights, not just into course design, but into racing, and but then we get into, of course, into heckling, and his heckle, this is very on point for Halloween, is by far the scariest. It's also a bit left field. It's a bit zany. So let's hear from Dave Coughlin. Dave Coughlin, I need to introduce you because I know you as someone with encyclopedic knowledge of cyclocross and also a pretty significant course designer. We were talking, we just realized recently that it's been 10 years since Nationals in Winnipeg, and you designed the course there. What do you remember about that course that you designed?
Well, I mean, it was, the biggest thing there was, it was such an amazing venue. Like the fact that we had that kind of terrain at our disposal in this sort of, historic central location with everything, cobblestone, sand, sharp run-ups, like lots of off-camber. It was an incredible course. And then, but also like we could build a course that the locals and the, could still just go at like on a regular day, and it didn't really interfere with them too much. They could still go to the restaurants and go to, go get a beer, but there's a whole race going on at the same time. And it wasn't like, how do I get through to this place? I used to go to this park and now I can't get across to the other side and go to my favorite pub, it's like, so like that was like one, but then the other side of it too is like, everybody was so excited. And everybody we bumped into was like, hey, yes, wow, that's amazing. How can we help? And that really says a lot for Winnipeg, really, and how and how that city operates, or at least did then. I don't know what it's like now. I'm sure it's still great because the people are still great. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, man, it was cool. It was cool. It's rare to be able to do a proper urban cyclocross race and not have to compromise it in a big way.
It was not my first time in Winnipeg when I went out to see those races, but it definitely gave me an appreciation for the city and the vibe. As you were saying, like that, the race was held in the Forks. This is, as it was very obvious, that is the place where Winnipeg goes to hang out. Yeah. And so it was really cool to see cyclocross, as you said, in an urban center. And oddly enough, today where we're speaking, we're in an urban center. We're in we're in Toronto. We're at Christie Pitts, and the race hasn't been here. The cyclocross race hasn't been here for, I think, since 2017. Anyway, you just raced it. As a course designer, what are your tasting notes, your impressions of the course?
No, they did awesome. I've always loved this. Like some of my favorite races have been in like a bowl setting, where you're kind of like in it and you kind of feel like it's in it, it's around you, and as a spectator, you can just be in there and you can see the whole race develop, right? But with that like amazing flow, short steep terrain, which just creates so many opportunities. Still mostly a grass course, which again lets you, keeps the speeds up and yeah, really good flow. They did great. They did really great. Like, yeah, it's really good. Stuff linked up really well. And, one of the classic issues with cross races is that people have all these ideas that they want to do. They was like, I'm going to make the best course ever. We're going to have like all these things. And it's like this and this. And it's like, okay, put them all down, make your best course, and then take half of it out. And that is going to be a great course, because you need to have space to be able to appreciate it. And if you're just on top of it the whole time, you can't move and get your lines big enough to be able to carry speed and to like have alternate lines. And that was a big thing with Winnipeg, is that, from racing in Europe, the one thing I really noticed is that the courses, I was getting passed on all sides at all times. So, there was fast lines everywhere, faster than me. So that was kind of like in Winnipeg, I was like, okay, I would like make sure every corner there was 2 fast lines, because that like makes the best racing, And it's often like as things develop, one becomes quicker than the other or whatever. But when it comes down to the big fights, and which we saw some incredible, and then you could go really low or you could go high, but there's a ridge, and if you pop over that ridge, you lose all your line, and you fall off. So, it was keeping that sort of stuff alive, and that's what I always try to think of and that's how I race too, right? I always look as I'm racing. I'm like, this line's fast. That's what everybody else is going to do. What can I do that they're not going to do, right? And like, how am I going to get past these people if we're all, if you're all chasing somebody else's tail, you're not going to get around them. You gotta get ahead of them somewhere. So. Anyways, yeah.
You're proving my introduction correct. There's encyclopedic knowledge from racing to course design. And another facet of cyclocross that I've been pestering people about today is the heckle. Now, what is a heckle that you have received that sticks in your mind?
The one that I can't really think of anything right now that I've received. The problem with the heckles is that you, like, a good heckle is something that breaks your concentration, right? You're in it, you're like focused so hard, and then somebody says something and you go, what was that? You're just like, it just clicks you out of it. So there's been a couple, but I can't think of anything like that's been directed towards me. One of my favorites was, it's just so simple, and I can't take credit for it. It was like one when we were in Manitoba. It went in Winnipeg, and it was your mom called, she wants her yoga pants back, which is just, it's pretty base, and it's not the most complicated, but it just sticks in my mind. And the unfortunate individual also was wearing rather saggy Lycra, so it did kind of fit the situation, which is important. I don't know. It's cool. It's fun.
And what kind of heckles do you deploy when you are a spectator?
I tend to lean, I like to say very, the delivery is as loud and aggressive as possible, yet it tend to be sort of mundane, sort of things that you might read in the paper, or like, you know, or in a census or something, you know. So, you know, like, you know, your social economic status is exceptional, but delivered in the loudest, most aggressive way possible. So,
If I step back so you don't blow out the microphone, can you deliver that?
sure, yeah, we could do that.
Your socioeconomic status is exceptional!
You still blew the levels out on the microphone.
Sorry. Yeah, it's been a while.
No, but so the shouting is still exceptional. And this is something where we should have video, because you just transformed and looked super menacing when you delivered that, and I appreciate that greatly. Dave Coughlin, thank you so much for chatting with us.
No worries. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, hey, beauty. I love it.
So that was Dave Coughlin. Jake, what did you think of that heckle?
Well, Dave has a really unique ability in that his blood-curdling voice, partnered with just the complete banal topic or content, is just fantastic. And it really, as a racer, it's going to leave you questioning a whole lot of things about why you're there, and did you file your taxes last year? What happened, right? I don't know.
I did see the levels on my microphone like spiking, and I was at least 4 meters away from him, and he looked like he transformed. Like he's this totally approachable, cuddly dude, and then he looked like a singer in a death metal band who was going to bite the head off of a chicken. Like, I was terrified.
I might disagree with being approachable in the first place, but yeah, that's true. He did go fully evil there.
He did. Yeah, it was great.
If I see him walking down the street, I'm crossing the street. Not gonna lie.
We say that with love, Dave. And
yes, sorry, Dave.
At the end of that clip, you might have heard him greeting somebody. That was Jamie Vrooman, another course designer. In fact, the course designer of the race we were at, that David just raced in, that Jake was emceeing at. And before I tell you a bit more about Jamie Vrooman, I want to talk about the heckles that have been launched at me in the past few years. Some of them are really intricate and complicated. I won't even get into that one. But a good one was the first editor of the magazine, Dan Dakin. He saw me go down in a cross race, and he's like, "Hey, Matt, you should read Canadian Cycling Magazine for some tips." That was very good. I like that. I like how we wove all that together there.
Were you brutally injured as well? That would have made it even funnier.
No, I was okay.
That's a shame.
Next time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Next time.
Yeah.
Okay. The heckles are coming where you least expect them. Anyway, but I really wanted to speak with Jamie, not really about his course, sure. But he is the man, the person who's unleashed heckles on me that have stuck with me, that I remember.
That means they're working.
Yeah. But what is interesting about this conversation, and it's by no means confrontational, and it wasn't supposed to be, but what surprised me is the direction it took. And once Jamie and I got talking about the heckle, and yeah, I was totally surprised by where it went. Jamie Vrooman, you are the course designer here at Christie Pitts Cross, but I don't really want to talk to you right now about your course, which I hear is lovely. People have liked it. Congratulations.
I raced cross for a bunch of years and just tried to make a course I would want to race on. I didn't have a great time today, but I think everybody else did, so that's what we're after. Thanks for having me, Matt.
So we're going to talk about the heckle because that's the theme that I would like to explore. And I really wanted to talk to you about this because of the people who have heckled me, and I've been heckled on cyclocross courses a bunch of times. Some very good ones have been landed on. But you have had the most scathing ones, and they're the ones that stick in my memory.
Please tell me what I've said.
You don't even remember. But
I remember some, but not for you in particular. Please tell me what lines I have crossed.
Well, no, this is funny because the heckle seems to mean to have a more significant effect on the receiver than the giver. The giver is just launching stuff, I think.
I think there's a lack of consideration in what a lot of people are, yelling at one another. There is a consideration that, we've known each other for a good number of years, ridden bikes together, have a lot of common friends, acquaintances, that sort of thing. And it's the same thing with like the cyclocross scene in general. We all spend a lot of time together. We all know each other and we know what hurts.
It's true. You have those are very good insights. So let's start with the number 2 one, the one that didn't hurt so much. That was it was something like, "Geez, Matt, the field must really be weak if you're doing this well."
I mean, either that or there was an awful lot of climbing on the course. Because
oh, that's a compliment.
I don't know what your overall wattage looks like, but your watt per kilos have always been, childlike.
Oh, go on. Now it's compliments. So the one that I remember, and I'm 90% I'm 90% sure this is you, but it was I believe the race was Cowbell, and you shouted from across the field, "You can't edit your way out of this one," which was good. It was good. I gotta admit, but it just took a few watts out of whatever I was doing.
I mean, you can't really help anybody when they're out there. You're little Sisyphean task out there.
It's true. So I had my heckle for you today, and I hope you heard it. I was hoping to deliver it. It's funny, you don't usually workshop a heckle, so this is actually kind of lame that I'm admitting this. But I thought, here's the course designer. I don't hope he falls, but if I see him fall, I can say, if you make the course, you have to lie down in it. Riffing on a cliche.
There was many riffs on that of like,
I wasn't the only
you made this bed now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, why didn't you make the course? I don't know. Whatever I was suffering with at that particular point in time. Slower, flatter, hard, I don't know.
And then the other one was a compliment, and it was kind of weird, but I really did like the way you built the barriers around the parking barriers.
That is a technical necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would not be able to use the park in the manner which we have. City of Toronto, Trinity Bellwoods Park. We're not in Trinity Bellwoods, we're at Christie Pitts.
This is a man who has been working really hard.
A little cross-eyed here. Christie Pitts invested a ton of money in revamping all of their baseball fields this year and made a request for us to not ride across the fields, kind of stay off the field as much as possible. So in order for us to compliment them and receive a permit, we had to run far less than ideal barrier situations and find a creative solution to do that. And as a result, it's probably the best course that's ever been run in Christie Pitts. So,
all right. So, as we were talking before we got on the mic, we were talking about heckles, and you think the media, big bike media like me, focuses way too much on the heckle. What's going on? Why?
Specifically in North America, certainly the North American cyclocross boom, 2010 through 15, leading into the first Worlds ever held in North America in Louisville. There became like this common trope in media to like focus on heckling as if it was like a feature. And it certainly is. We all stand around in a field all day and yell various things at one another that would be edited out of this podcast. Should I repeat? But I also do think that there is a certain amount of negativity that comes with heckling. There have been instances of people crossing the line. There was one year at Cross Vegas. There was a lot going on that was simply not okay. In North America, we've had announcers cross the line on the microphone saying things to female racers or other racers. And I think it's important that we all just, keep our heads on and remember that like we're a community and we're here to support each other, and that from time to time we should try, maybe a compliment corner instead of always looking for Heckler Hill. Like I said, we're always going to be here. We're always going to do this, but there's just like a common trope where I think there's better stories out there, and I understand why Matt's doing this one. It's a good one. But we have world champions on site today. We got a lot of good racers. We could talk about having the first gender diverse category in Ontario cycling history. We didn't see the numbers we wanted there. That's okay. It's a starting point. We have it. So yeah, we're here to have fun. Just try to be a little more cerebral and creative with than like, oh, you're so slow.
No, you make a really good point because, sometimes your mouth gets away on you when you're heckling, and there have been instances of people.
Believe me, there are times where I get home Sunday night and wonder what I was doing.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. You can't always edit your way out of these things.
We can't edit our way out of the things we say to one another. So the more intelligent and considered they are, the better. It's always going to be part of what we do, but it is certainly not the most important part.
I love this, Jamie, because from someone as spicy as you, sometimes I almost thought, oh my God, he's gone full hippie on me. But no, I understood.
No, my great disdain and outward appearance and sound is born out of great optimism for people and disappointment, and it's all couched in a want for the collective good. And to anybody who I have crossed the line with, I sincerely apologize.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard that the cynic is just the frustrated optimist. So
that's how we that's how we construct that. And it's okay if no one believes us.
Thank you so much, Jamie, and congratulations again on the course. This has been super cool.
Thanks for being here, man. Thank you.
All right, so that is my arch heckler. I'm not going to call him a nemesis or anything, but that was Jamie Vrooman, and that discussion got all contemplative. Jamie was super thoughtful. It was damn near cuddly. But he truly did, I think, the best analysis of the cyclocross heckle that I've ever heard from every angle, from the good, the bad, and yeah, really, I think that right there is the best place to end that discussion. Unless you guys have any other heckles you got to unleash right now.
Well, you can maybe give me some more that you've been given over the years, just for future use.
Oh, you want to hear more things that have been leveled at me?
Yeah. Like, I quite enjoy this, to be honest.
Do you want to then use them against me?
No, I just want to write them in my diary.
And that's the episode. I had help from Matt Hansen. Thank you, Matt.
You're terrible.
Also, I had help this time from Jake Williams. Thanks, Jake.
Are you bleeding? You better be bleeding. Just practicing. Thank you, guys. That was great.
This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick. He also did the music. Thanks also to Ontario Creates for its support. One thing I've also learned about heckling is that they often don't seem so bad when you tell the heckle later. It's almost like a joke delivered badly. When I say to someone later, the heckle that really stung was, you can't edit your way out of this one. It's like, well, now I gotta explain why that stings so much. Racing bikes and editing are both important, and I'm being accused of doing both of them badly, and I'm in the middle of a cross race, also questioning everything I'm doing right now at like a very high beats per minute. It's a perfect confluence. It's a very complex recipe right there. I think we could do another episode on this.
Maybe, perhaps. It sounds scintillating.
Yeah, you guys seem exhausted.
It is true, though. I mean, you're not wrong. It is like trying to retell the joke the day after. Doesn't work, ever.
It's like explaining a cartoon orally. And then Odie goes to Garfield.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Ride safely, heckle nicely, heckle gently, heckle with love. And we'll talk to you later. These are judiciously placed barriers, Jamie. Well done. I like your barriers.